Hello, friends of Sudoku, and welcome to an expert level Sudoku from my stack of photocopies. I don't know how this puzzle is going to turn out. We'll just have to wait and see. As I always do, I spend about 30 seconds just looking at the board and see if there's anything that pops to mind. And quite often that helps me find the first few digits. In this case, I can see that there are a couple of 8s blocking across here. And we also have two 8s blocking from above and from below. So this is an 8. There's also a 3 blocking across here and a 3 blocking up. So this is a 3. These first few naked and hidden singles are usually very easy to spot, and they don't require a lot of explanation, I think. There's a 6 blocking here and there's a 6 blocking here. So that tells us that one of these two squares must be a 6. And now we need to find the 6 for row 4. It clearly can't go here or here because of this 6. So it must go here. We have a 2, 5, and a 9 here. And this is a very nice little, not a trick, but it's a part of the methodology that you can employ. These 2, 5, and 9s need to find place here, here, and here. And while we may not know where they are going to end up eventually, we now know that these 3 squares have to be a 1, 3, and a 6. Again, we don't know how to place a 1, 3, and a 6 in these 3 cells, but we now know that these two must be an 8 and a 4. And that's something. Another observation is that this 5 blocks across here and this 5 blocks up. And therefore, one of these two squares must be a 5. So that means that these squares are all blocked by this ghost 5 here. And we have a 5 here blocking down, so this square is also blocked. Therefore, a square for this box must go here. And now these 5s block down. This 5 blocks over, and therefore this is a 5. This 9 now blocks down here, so one of these squares has got to be a 9. We also already have a 9 in this row. We need to find a 9 for row 4. Since it can't go here, and the 9 blocks this square, the 9 must go here. These two squares now need to be a 1 and a 4. So by now I have more or less completed the initial phase of solving a puzzle. For me, that means that I now have to spend some time analyzing more complex patterns. One of the things that I like to do is when I can see that I have as many givens as 5 in a column or in a row or in a box, I will try to see if I can figure out what the rest of the squares are going to be. So in this case, I still need to find a 2, 4, 7, and a 9. We have a 4, 7, and a 9 blocking this square. So this has got to be a 2. And the rest must be a 4, 7, and a 9. And I can't place them, at least not at this time. But finding this 2 usually prompts me to look at this row. And for this, I need to find a 1, 3, 5, and a 6. There's a 1, 5, and a 3 blocking this square, therefore it must be a 6. Now I'm looking for a 5. A 5 can't go here. A 5 can't go here, therefore this is a 5. And now I immediately look up to see if I can see anything. And all I can see is that these two 5s block like so, and this 5 blocks over here. So one of these is going to be a 5, which is not helpful right now. But we got a couple of digits. These two now have to be a 1 and a 3. And we know that these two 1s block down like so. This one blocks over, so one of these must be a 1 now. We need to find a 1, 3, 4, 6, 7 for column 2. And having found that, I immediately start looking for a 1, 3, and a 6 among these squares here. We know that one of these must be a 1. A 3 can't go here and it can't go here, so one of these must be a 3 as well. So we got a 1 and a 3 for sure in two of these 3 squares. But now that I've thought about it, once I enter some more digits, it will become more clear to me because I will remember what I just analyzed. There's a 6 blocking down here, and there's a 6 blocking up here, and there's a 6 blocking over. So this square must be a 6. I just discovered something very neat. There's a 1 and a 3 and a 5 blocking here. There's a 1 and a 3 and a 5 blocking here. Therefore, these squares must be a 1, 3, and a 5. There can be no doubt about that. And that means that these two squares must be a 2 and a 7. So if these are 2's and 7's, then 2's and 7's can't go here. And we got a couple of 7's blocking up here. So one of these must be a 7. Question is what to do about the 2. We still have the 2 and the 5 that need to go in two of these 3 squares here. And the 9 actually. Can we do something with that? Well, the 9 must go here or here. That is for sure. The 5 must go here or here, and the 2 can go here, here, or here. Another thing to keep in mind is that one of these squares must be a 3 because of these 3 blocking. One of these is a 3, therefore this is blocked by 3's, and therefore we also have a couple of 3's in these 2 squares. So these 4 squares can all be 3 candidates. At this point, I'm tempted to demonstrate how I use pencil marks. Before I do that, though, I would ask you, if you are new to this channel and you haven't subscribed, if you would mind subscribing. It would help my channel, and it might help Google's algorithms find more users, more viewers who are interested in solving puzzles using this style of no or very few pencil marks. That out of the way, let's see how we would go about using pencil marks for a puzzle like this. I will start using the Snyder notation. The Snyder notation stipulates that within a box, we can enter pencil marks in exactly 2 squares where a possible digit can go. Not 3, not 4, not 5, just 2. Let me demonstrate. Let's start with the ones. The ones blocking down here. This one blocks over here. So we can enter pencil marks here. Any more ones? Yes, we have a 1 blocking up here and a 1 blocking over here. Therefore, one of these must be a 1. And therefore, one of these 2 squares can be a 1. We cannot enter any more pencil marks for 1's. So let's continue with the 2's. And by the way, we did notice that these 2 squares can be a 2 and a 7. So I might as well enter them now. And back to the 2's now. One of these 2 squares must be a 2 because we got these 2 squares occupying rows 7 and 9 already. On to the 3's. We know that a 3 must go in one of these squares, but I don't know which one. Therefore, I'm not going to enter pencil marks for them at this time. But I know, therefore, that this cannot be a 3, and therefore one of these 2 must be a 3. I also know that one of these 2 squares can be a 3, and these 2 squares also are candidates for 3. The 4 now. We know that these 2 squares are 4 and 8 because we found that out early in the process. And I can't really do anything more with the 4's. So on to the 5's. We got a couple of 5's blocking up and 1 5 blocking over. So this can be a 5. And one of these can be a 5, of course, because we have two 5s blocking like so. 6s, one of these must be a 6 because we have a 6 blocking over here. And these two are 4 and 8. And therefore, because this 6 blocks over, one of these two squares must be a 6. A 7 now. A 7 can't go in any of these squares here because we have already a pair of 2s and 7 here. We also have a couple of 7s blocking up here. So we found a 7 for these two squares. And now we can see that these two squares are confined to being 6s and 7s. On to the 8s now. Well, I can't place any 8s, I think. Yes, I can. We have 8 blocking over and 8 blocking up, so one of these is an 8. And that actually gives us a digit down here because we have an 8 here, it's pointing towards this square. Therefore, this square can only be a 4, and this can only be an 8. Now, this 8 blocks over, this 8 blocks down, making this an 8. And look at what happens immediately when we enter an 8 here. We take away this square from being a 2 candidate. And we know that this other cell could be a 2. Now that this square is taken by an 8, this square must be a 2. And therefore, this square must be a 3. And now we can enter pencil marks for the 3s like so. And by the way, the other digit that we needed for these 3 squares is a 1. So we have a 1, 3, and a 6 in these 3 squares. Well, we were by the 8s, but I'm seeing here a 1, 3 here and a 1, 3 here. And actually, one of these two squares can be a 3 because we got 3s blocking down and we got a 3 blocking over. So we got a 1, 3 remote pair here. Let's continue though and see if we can do something with the 9s. We got a 9 blocking up and another 9 blocking up. One of these must therefore be a 9. A 9 blocks down, therefore one of these must be a 9. And we know that these two squares have to be a 9 and a 7. The 9 blocks down, so the 7 must go here and the 9 here. And that makes these two 9 candidates. And we now have a 9 blocking down. We've got two 9s blocking over. Therefore, these two squares are candidates for a 9. Now is a good time to take another look at the board and see if we have enough pencil marks now to continue without entering even more pencil marks. One thing we could do is we could take these two squares and we could make sure that they're 1s and 4s because those are the only two digits missing from the row. So let's have a look at row 7. We just need to find now a 1, 6, and a 4. There's a 1 and a 6 blocking down. Therefore, this has got to be a 4. And this is now a 1 or a 6, along with this one here. So we might as well enter a 6. This 4 blocks up here. Therefore, one of these squares is going to be a 4. We only have two empty squares left in column 1. One is a 9. The other is a 7. I want to take another look at these 3 squares. We know that this is a 7, 9. We also need to find a 4. This square can only be a 4 or a 7. I'm not going to enter that at this time because I don't think it's going to be necessary to leave the proven path of the Snyder notation. But we do remember that these two were a 2 and a 7 pair. Now that we found this 7 here, we know that this has got to be a 2, and therefore this must be a 7. And therefore, this can only be a 4 or a 9. And this can only be a 4 and a 7. Since we now only need 3 digits to complete box 1, we can try looking and see if we can figure out what they are. They have to be a 2, 4, and a 6. Now, there's a 2 blocking up. So one of these is going to be a 2. That is not helping us a lot. But for completeness, we can enter the pencil marks. Look at these squares here. They have to be a 1, 5, 9, and a 7. There's a 5, 1, and a 9, all looking at this square, which therefore must be a 7. And these are now 1, 5, and 9. We know now that these 7s block over, and we have a 7 blocking down. That makes this a 7, and this therefore must be the 9. And we got a 9 blocking over, therefore this is a 9, and this must be the 4. These two 4s block up, therefore a 4 will go along with a 2 as a pair here, and that leaves only one square in this box, which now must be a 6. These two 6s block over. We know that these two squares with 6 and 7s, this 6 now forces a 7 into this square under 6 here. This 7 blocks over, this 7 blocks over, these two 7s block over. Therefore, this square must be a 7. 1, 5, and a 9 here. Now these must be 8 and a 4. We got an 8 in the column, so the 4 will have to go here and the 8 here. And we did have a couple of 8s here before. Now we got 8s blocking up, 8s blocking up, and a couple of 8s blocking over. So this square has got to be an 8. These are now 2s and 4s, but we have a 4 in the row. So the 2 goes here and the 4 goes here. This square has got to be a 6 because it's the last digit missing from the column. And that gives us a 6 for this square. These now have to be 1, 3. We have a 1 in the row, making this a 3 and this a 1. And therefore this is a 1. This must be a 3 and this square must be a 7. One of these must be a 2 and the 2 blocks over. Therefore we have to enter the 1s and the 2s like so. 2 blocking over. This is therefore a 2. 2 blocking up and over. This is a 2, making this a 9. And therefore this must be a 5. These are just the remaining digits that make it easy for us to find the last digits. This is a 5. This square's got to be a 4 because it's the last digit missing from this box. And that makes this a 4, of course. This has got to be a 1 because these are 1s and 9s. And we have a 9 in the row, like so. And that makes this a 1 and this a 1 and this a 3. This is also a 3. And the last digit is a 5. So this is how you can deal with an expert puzzle if you run your head against the wall and you can't move forward without using pencil marks. This is a minimum number of pencil marks that you can use, and as you have seen, it is not going to clutter up your grid very much. Granted, we could have found a few digits without using pencil marks. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you'll come back for more soon. Thank you for watching and bye for now.